Hello everyone and welcome to Grand Prix Quebec City 2013. You have just seen a Pro Tour Hall of Fame badge get passed across the table.
Is that what that was?
Yep. Which means that on the left of your screen is Paulo Vida Dama da Rosa of Brazil, and on your right there he is in all his Channel Fireball glory. On your right you're going to see Pascal Maynard, former French national champion in face-to-face games, and he is getting us underway.
It looks like he's playing one of the new decks, or at least new to me, that we've seen here. We didn't see this a whole lot at the Pro Tour, but it looks to be Human Reanimator Combo.
We are going to see a lot of this, aren't we?
I believe we are, yeah.
Or pretty much all the when I say all the Canadians, I mean the big name pros are on this deck. You're going to see a lot of it. It is super complicated, but you will get the hang of it as we go along.
That's right.
The basic gist is you see a Burning Tree Emissary going into Maynard's graveyard there. He's busy looting away to get his graveyard nice and full. Meanwhile, Paulo just opened up with a couple of lands, Chapel and Hallowed Fountain.
Yeah, so this deck is somewhat complex. It actually requires 4 pieces to go off, as we say, for a combo deck. It needs an Angel of Glory's Rise.
Right.
It needs a Burning Tree Emissary. It needs a Fiend Hunter, and it needs an Undercity Informer.
Wow.
If it has all of those pieces, it can infinitely mill you. Now, what you see Pascal doing here is he's playing a Grizzly Salvage such that he can start to get these pieces into the graveyard, because once you reanimate Angel of Glory's Rise, all of those pieces are humans, and you will have them on the battlefield, and we'll show you what happens if he's able to do that. But the end result is his opponent gets completely milled out.
Yes, and the thing is, you may well not see it happen, because particularly against good opponents, they will go, you've got me, I know what this does, I'm dead, let's move to the next game.
That's
but
right.
we will get to the point where we show you precisely what occurs.
That's right. And we can see that Pascal has a couple of pieces in his hand and at least a few in the yard. Unburial Rites is the key card, as it's the one that's going to enable him to get an Angel of Glory's Rise into play for cheap. But they have an alternate way to do this. Against control decks, they can wait, and as you can see in Pascal's hand, he has Cavernous Souls.
Yep.
And what he can do is he can just build up enough mana to resolve the Angel and go off on his turn.
So he puts a couple of Fiend Hunters into the graveyard there. You see he's continuing to flash back Faithless Looting. Meanwhile, Paulo, inevitably, with lots of cards, and of course the interesting thing there is from Paulo's point of view, he has quite a lot of dead cards, and that right now he's got all these Supreme Verdicts and kill creature elements, and they're really just blank at this stage of the match.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because those would normally be great versus a Reanimator deck. They would often be good, and versus a creature-based deck like this is, you would think that those type of sweepers, as we call them, Supreme Verdict, kill all creatures in play, would be fantastic. But this deck that Pascal's playing actually sets up the combo and then goes off infinite in one turn, and they never get an untap step.
Yeah.
They never even get to have a chance to wipe the board. One of the things that is interesting is this Angel of Glory's Rise deck. It looks more like a Reanimator deck where you're trying to do kind of brokenish things with humans and that kind of value, just get a whole bunch of creatures back, because that deck did used to exist. That, however, is not. This is a fully dedicated combo deck. This is looking to get those 4 creatures that we mentioned on the battlefield and then completely combo off on their opponent. This is much different than the older versions.
And also they can even do things like they pass the turn with no cards left in the opposing library, the opponent untaps, goes for a Psychic Spiral. They can actually re-combo in their opponent's upkeep. So it's a pretty resilient affair, and this is some pretty funky stuff going on.
There absolutely is.
At some point we'll get to the conversation about Undercity Informer and Boros Reckoner, but we'll leave that aside for now. Don't overload you. We've got 6 rounds today, 6 rounds tomorrow.
Like PV's in the tank. I'm sure he's perfectly aware of this deck and what it's trying to do. The question is, does he have the tools, especially game 1 in his Esper control deck, to combat it?
Yeah. And this is a case where Cavern of Souls is potentially a very big deal, because Paulo can sit there with all the counter magic he wants. As you say, Pascal can just go, no, I'm just going to cast my Angel, and we're off to the races.
That's right. Cavern of Souls naming Angel is going to be a big one here. Assuming that's what this cavern has named, we're going to see a mulch from Pascal.
So one of the interactions in this version of the deck that they've been testing, this sort of comes from Shi-Chan Lee originally, who made the top 8 of Pro Tour RTR in Seattle, and also Tsu-Chin Kuo is involved with this. The idea of Burning Tree Emissary.
Yes.
So you can play that on turn 2, and then with the 2 spare mana that you generate from the Burning Tree Emissary, you get to mulch. And that's a real upgrade in terms of your aggro matchup, because you get to, rather than skipping your second turn, leaving the board blank in order to cast mulch, you get a 2/2 blocker into play, as well as you're getting to do your mulch.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And Dissipate from Paolo.
He knows that he's got to find targets for that Dissipate. Is
Yeah.
this going to be dead versus the key cards thanks to Cavern of Souls?
So 3 mana from Pascal, and now there you see, it's Gatecrash Limited.
It is indeed.
It's Undercity for what a great card that is.
Yeah,
in
a
Gatecrash
solid
draft.
pick 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
A 2/3 for 3 you're happy with. Looks like Paulo is going to take this moment to use
The
Supreme Verdict. Yeah.
And the response you see now comes from Pascal. He says, okay, I'm going to spend 1 off the Undercity Informer just to mill myself until I see a land. That's what Undercity Informer does. Could be either player. Eventually it'll be the opposing player, but until that point, it's always yourself. It's like, how quickly can I get through my deck, get all the key things I need?
And I think that's really interesting, the way that card can switch roles. It enables the combo and then is also the kill in the combo. Yeah, this deck seems sweet to me. This format hasn't had a true combo deck in a little while, and now it seems like it really does. Curious to see how well it does this weekend.
Yeah. Well, there are plenty of good pilots for it, and that was an Angel of Glory's Rise.
That was absolutely an Angel of Glory's Rise. So he is getting very close. He does have the pieces in his graveyard. I see he's got a Fiend Hunter, an Undercity Informer, which we just saw. Again, that Supreme Verdict from Paulo, it does something, but it doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, Pascal's very happy to have that in the graveyard. Does he have? And he does have a Burning Tree Emissary as well. So he has the full combo. He either needs to hard cast an Angel of Glory's Rise or flashback Unburial Rites and have that resolve. And there it is.
Boom.
It's on the table. Let's see what Paulo comes up with here.
So the trouble is in the nature of the way Magic works, you see there's like a Devour Flesh there sitting for Paolo. He could use that Devour Flesh before everything comes back. But there would still be all the triggers going on and all sorts of chicanery, so we'll see what he does. Angel of Glory's Rise right now is threatening to bring back all the humans from the graveyard of Pascal Maynard.
That's right.
That's sort of step 1.
That's right. And
then we're going to get trigger happy.
Yeah, and then what happens is when they all come in, there's going to be a trigger from Burning Tree Emissary, which is going to create 2 mana. There's also going to be a trigger from the Fiend Hunter, and that is going to target the Angel of Glory's Rise.
Multiple Fiend Hunters.
And in this case, there is.
He has all 4, in fact, I can see. In the graveyard.
Yeah, and that's going to target Angel of Glory's Rise. That is going to get exiled by Fiend Hunter. That's going to leave him with 2 mana. He's going to be able to sacrifice the Fiend Hunter and the Angel of Glory's Rise to his Undercity Informer, which is going to then repeat the loop, but it's also going to have 2 grinds of his opponent, meaning he's going to mill him until he hits a land.
But he does go for Devour Flesh, so the Angel of Glory's Rise does go to the graveyard. So now the trigger resolves. Now here comes 4 Fiend Hunters, 2 Undercity Informers, a Burning Tree Emissary. Is that even 3 Undercity Informers? I think it is. A little bit of glare.
So Pascal's ordering the triggers right now. He's explaining what he's doing. Fiend Hunter is a May ability. He doesn't have any target. Oh, I guess there is one Augur of Bolas from Paulo, so he will be able to get that if he'd like. He might not even want to.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to let it. He probably has to assume that Paulo is going to play a Supreme Verdict. We know that Paulo actually has Terminus in hand, which is going to help interrupt this in a big way because Pascal's graveyard has now been completely emptied except for the Angel of Glory's Rise, at least as far as creatures go. And if all of these creatures were to be put on the bottom of his library, it means he basically has to start over again.
Again, so many cards, though, are blanked. You're looking at the life totals, 16-24. The life totals in this matchup are not even remotely relevant right now.
Especially in this matchup. I mean, they could be in another because Pascal can, I mean, look at what he has here, right? He's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. He has 17 power. So if he was playing against a deck that didn't run sweepers, this could have been just a fine. It's just like, sure, turn these guys sideways. Are you dead yet? Right. But you're right. In this matchup, it's almost guaranteed that he won't be able to untap with this many creatures on the battlefield.
It was like the Ben Stark-Stephen Mann matchup where you saw Stephen Mann on 37 and Ben Stark on 11, and Ben Stark was infinitely far ahead in that game.
That's right. So what Pascal has done here is he's exiled a bunch of his own creatures in preparation for that wrath effect, for that big sweeper.
And the reason he's got Manuel, if you're thinking, well, hang on, he's got 7 land tapped. Yes, he has. But remember that Burning Tree Emissary, when it came back, generates 2 mana. So that's why Pascal's been able to get things back into the graveyard via the sacrifice ability on Undercity Informer. And now, of course, because those 3 Fiend Hunters have sort of hidden away his own creatures, should Paolo send creatures away, well, that'll send the Fiend Hunters away, and what's underneath, for want of in layman's terms, will come back.
That's right. So Pascal's in a very good position here as he has 2 forms of redundancy against Paulo. If Paulo wipes the board, he's got the combo set up anyway. If he doesn't wipe the board, then he can just start attacking him.
Just explain redundancy, please.
He just has multiple ways to get this combo through. He can fight through basically 2 different angles that Paulo can hit.
So even if I don't get you with plan B, plan A, plan B is just sitting there ready to go, and that's just as efficient at killing you.
That's right.
Okay, and thank you. We like redundancy.
Oh, redundancy is a beautiful thing. You're an Azorius. You must be a very big fan of redundancy.
Yeah.
All right, so looks like Pascal is going to play. Excuse me. He's going to play Unburial Rites on his Angel. It's going to come into play, and he is starting to combo off here. He sacrifices the Fiend Hunter. It's going to bring back the Emissary. He's going to target himself, so he's going to mill himself until he hits a land, hits a cavern, and he is figuring out what his next steps are. He's got presumably the 2 mana from the Emissary, plus there's a mana from Pilgrim and 2 lands.
Yeah, Alison's Pilgrim. So now this Fiend Hunter goes away, so my Hunt Master comes back. I will gain 2 life. I'll look, here's Wolf. That's what those mana-deprived tokens are. They're 2/2 wolves with a little Canadian maple leaf. Bottom right. The mill continues on Pascal.
He gained 6 from
The players are working out just a life total discrepancy right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what he missed.
Okay. I was thinking it was Rihanna.
I'm playing Rihanna. I board in 14 cards. Still lose.
So
Players are talking about their sideboards too. I don't know if it's these 2 or our other match, but I can hear people saying I board in 14 cards. Somebody said.
Nice. So Burning Tree Emissary hits the graveyard. More cards hit the graveyard. And then finally, that Angel of Glory's Rise is now about to do its resolving.
That's right. It's been on the stack for this entire sequence, and it has now resolved.
So back comes Fiend Hunters, Burning Tree Emissaries. There's 3 Fiend Hunters, an Undercity Informer, 2 Burning Tree Emissaries, so that's 4 mana now available again. 3 Fiend Hunter triggers to get rid of Angel of Glory's Rise, get rid of a Hunt Master, probably get rid of a Burning Tree Emissary. Oh no, just another Undercity Informer by the looks of things.
Yeah, he just needs to make sure that he protects the pieces of the combo.
And Paolo now.
He is going to go for a Sphinx's Revelation and try to hit a Terminus here, I think. Yeah, you saw him peel it, and he doesn't, and he's going to scoop it up.
Pack him up. Now, let's just imagine that Paolo has not seen this before.
Okay.
Incredibly
Which is, it is possible.
Yeah, in a slightly parallel universe, they see Pascal Maynard didn't break sweat as he waded through his combo. Take us on from where we got to. Let's assume that things carry on. What happens next? Where does this all lead?
So what ends up happening is if you have the pieces out, you get back Fiend Hunter, and this is in the simplest terms, and it exiles an Angel of Glory's Rise.
Yep.
So you will have an Undercity Informer, a Burning Tree Emissary, and you will also have the Fiend Hunter with the Angel that has been exiled. You will also presumably have 2 mana from the Emissary,
Sure.
like in case you're tapped out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you will spend 1 mana to activate the ability from the Undercity Informer.
Okay.
Okay, and what you can do is you sacrifice the Burning Tree Emissary. That goes in the graveyard. You get a grind effect. So your opponent will mill their deck until they hit a land.
Yep.
Then you spend the other mana from the Burning Tree Emissary to sacrifice the Fiend Hunter.
Okay.
Now, that puts the Fiend Hunter in the graveyard with the Burning Tree Emissary. The Undercity Informer is just sitting on the battlefield. It's quite pleased to just sit there. Now, your Angel of Glory's Rise enters the battlefield again.
Because the Fiend Hunter has gone away, so that returns the Angel of Glory's Rise.
Right. And now there's a trigger that goes on this act that says, exile all zombies, put all humans that were in the graveyard, in your graveyard, into play. That happens, returning a Burning Tree Emissary.
2 mana.
Yeah, which then triggers to get 2 mana, plus the Fiend Hunter. You then redo the Angel, and you're in the exact same position you just were with the 2 mana. And you can do it again and again and again and again. And at that point, you have gone off, as they say in combo terms, and your opponent will be milled all the way as much as you want to mill them.
So actually, there are up to 5 sets of infinite things going on in this deck at various times. It can be. So you can gain infinite life with a Huntmaster of the Fells. Because you just keep bringing that back, and you gain 2 life every time that it comes into play. That also means you can have infinite number of 2/2 wolves from the Huntmaster of the Fells. The Burning Tree Emissary notionally gives you infinite mana, because 2 mana at a time. If you have 2 Fiend Hunters, you can have infinite creature kill, essentially, because you just loop that round and then you trigger it such a way that their guys just disappear forever. And then, obviously, the kill itself, if you like, is the infinite mill ability from Undercity Informer.
Right. So
ultimately, Paolo Stone Rosa, who is on 20 life, once again, not relevant in any way, shape, or form.
It was not.
Because this is all about how many cards left in your library. But even then, that's not relevant either, because it's like, you have cards, then I go off, then you don't.
Yes.
That's approximately that. Now, one of the interesting questions is, what does Paolo have in his sideboard that might conceivably disrupt this package? Because Paolo's a control deck in Game 1, and essentially sat on the sidelines while Pascal did his thing. So what have we got sideboard-wise that might be of use?
There's a few things that he can do here. One of them is he has 2 Witchbane Orb in the sideboard.
So what does that do?
So that's going to prevent. It's going to give him hexproof. It's going to prevent Pascal from targeting him with the mill ability from the Undercity Informer. So that's a good start. That takes away the big punch ability of Maynard's deck. Though, as you just noted, Rich, Pascal has other avenues to victory that aren't that. So that isn't just, it's not just resolve Witchbane Orb, extend the hand, let's go to the next game. No. Yeah. So that's one thing he can do. He does have a Psychic Spiral. So he can turn the mill engine right back on Pascal, although, as you noted earlier, Rich, Pascal can play around that by going off even on Paulo's turn.
They are certainly aware of the Psychic Spiral in my upkeep with no cards left in my library plan.
Right.
And have answers to that. What's interesting on the other side, though, Pascal Maynard, he has this transformational side.
He absolutely does.
And what we mean by that is, well, it transforms, essentially, out of being one kind of deck and into a different kind of deck altogether. I believe that the way you do that is essentially you come up with a completely different line of attack. So you've got 4 Thragtusk in the board. You've got Centaur Healers. You've got Restoration Angels.
Yeah.
And suddenly you are just this, mid-rangey, all the good cards, all the big, powerful threats that we've seen. And you're not trying to be cute and trying to fill up your graveyard. And so there is potentially an opponent going, what am I going to do about his graveyard? I don't need to worry about my life. I don't need to try and kill creatures. And suddenly you're like, oh, that's a Restoration Angel flickering out a Thragtusk? Oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting option to have. I don't think he'll take it against PV because PV probably doesn't have enough stuff to bring in where he's not still playing some amount of board sweepers, which will be pretty good against this strategy.
So Paolo has mulliganed to 6 already here, and he is away with 6 cards. Temple Garden on the right of your screen for Pascal Maynard. Paolo passes for turn 2, and 2 life for Overgrown Tomb. This suggests maybe an Emissary of Many mulch time. Oh, just passes, okay. End of turn Azorius Charm, that's going to be cycle, and that enables Pascal to begin the milling process with Grisly Salvage. You see Angel of Glory's Rise and a Burning Tree Emissary hit his own graveyard along with 3 land.
So he can grab any of these cards. It looks like he's just going to pick up a land here. Keep hitting his land drops. Remember, having those combo pieces in the graveyard is exactly what he wants.
Hallowed Fountain tapped, no need to lose the 2 life.
Looks like Pascal has a Burning Tree Emissary in his hand, and if he wants, he can try to go for that and a mulch, but he doesn't have a mulch. I think he's got another Grisly Salvage, maybe.
Okay. Paolo passes with one of the standout cards of last week, Nephalia Drownyard. 1 Ben Stark. Well, not quite all his games, presumably, but a lot of them.
Yep. And there is the other Grisly Salvage. He sees
double Faithless Looting.
2 lootings,
and
yep.
There's Avacyn's Pilgrim, 2 more land. And it's the Pilgrim that goes to hand for Pascal Maynard.
There's an Burial Rites for Pascal, so he is getting there. He doesn't have any Fiend Hunters or any Undercity Informers in his yard yet. And now there's an Undercity Informer, though, on the battlefield, which is just a fine place for it as well.
Sure. Burning Tree Emissary into Undercity Informer.
Now, Pascal did not play that Arbor Elf, is that right? I mean, not Arbor Elf, the Avacyn's Pilgrim?
He did not.
Okay.
And I guess part of that is he wants that as the start of the rebuild if there is a Supreme Verdict the other way?
I'm not sure. I don't know exactly. It looks like so he just used Undercity Informer, and he didn't want to... Oh, that's why. He just wanted to keep the mana up to do that.
Sure. So, Burning Tree Emissary into the graveyard. It was only straight to a land, so he didn't get multiple cards into his graveyard. Cavern of Souls went in. And now 5 mana, here's Unburial Rites targeting Angel of Glory's Rise. Now this, Paolo, we can see from his hand, does have an answer to. He has a negate on the left of his set of 5 cards right now.
I'm sure Pascal's anticipating that Paulo has some type of a negate or something here, and he just says, all right, well, let's just start plowing through these because I get to cast this Unburial Rites twice. So
Azorius Charm cycles for Paolo. Now here's the negate.
And we see Undercity Informer in battle. This is standard here, everybody.
Yep.
You are in the right feed if you're wanting to watch some constructed. That is an Undercity Informer getting into the red zone. Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of that happening in Charlotte
it's like
as
that Undercity Informer woke up this morning and went, what, Quebec City? What am I doing here?
I'm supposed to be in Charlotte.
Yeah.
I was told that I was working Charlotte.
I wasn't even unpacked.
All right, so PV is going to get aggressive here and go for Jace Memory Adept.
All right.
Now, he's going to use it to draw a card because if he starts targeting Pascal with its 0 ability of mill 10.
Yeah, let's not do that.
It's going to be pretty detrimental. I think that Pascal just drew a Fiend Hunter, which is the piece that he needs other than what he's already got. Although he needs the Fiend Hunter to come into play after the Angel. He can't just run it out there.
Sure.
Yeah, he's got Angel, Land, Fiend Hunter, Pilgrim in hand. So
and
he's piecing things together.
Unburial Rites sitting on at the top of his graveyard.
Right there on top, too.
And William Rubin, please report to the stage. Daniel Leclerc and William Rubin.
I don't know how loud those announcements are for you at home, but we'll try not to talk over them. We'll kind of let them run.
They usually can't hear him.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got these handy mics that don't pick them up very well. It's really good.
Awesome.
All right, Maynard's deep in the tank here. You can see him doing some calculations with that tapping on the table.
The well-known Japanese abacus kind of thing.
You know, I started doing that.
Really?
Yeah, like I think it's just from Magic. I just started going and poking around on the table.
Okay. Yeah. I was even watching you do that on Magic Online last night. You know, at the laptop, you were kind of doing it to the screen.
Yeah.
So here we are, Angel of Glory's Rise. There's 2 Burning Tree emissaries sitting there, an Undercity Informer. And now, Fiend Hunter, Trigger. And that's going to send away the Angel of Glory's Rise. But maybe not for very long.
So what this means is that Pascal is now wrath-proof, for lack of a better term.
Understood. Verdict proof.
Yep, verdict proof.
Cleansing proof.
Mm-hmm. And if he has any mana left over, all right, he is going to sacrifice this. This is all using mana from Burning Tree Emissary.
Yes.
It's going to bring the Angel of Glory's Rise back in, and that is in fact going to make the combo live here.
So Fiend Hunter, Burning Tree Emissary, more mana. The Angels under the Fiend Hunter.
Yep.
Sacrifice the Emissary to the Undercity Informer. Mill myself. On we go.
And
Handshake.
PV.
Boom.
Oh, you had Psychic Spiral there.
He is forced to extend the hand as the combo was assembled there for Pascal. You could see this deck is not easy to play.
No lie, you are going to see that a lot this weekend. If we're right that it's a real thing, you're going to see plenty of that. Plenty of that.
Yeah, and I mean, you can